Welcome back to news you're just not seeing enough of in the United States. Today is December 30th, and we're going to talk about what's happened in the last 72 hours and why it matters. Donald Trump has just struck inside of Venezuela. He's publicly stated that the United States carried out a strike on a facility, a site he claimed was used by drug boats to load up along the coast. This matters for several reasons. First, it's being described as a U.S. strike on land, not just interdiction at sea. And that's critical. That's a big distinction. Land strikes cross a different legal and diplomatic threshold. It's also essentially a declaration of war, which leads to my second point. This announcement did not come with prior congressional authorization or a clear legal framework presented to the public. Third, Venezuela is not isolated. In Venezuela has ripple effects across Latin America, energy markets, migration patterns, and existing tensions with U.S. adversaries aligned with the region, such as Russia and China. When a former or current U.S. leader casually confirms a strike, that signals a normalization of this escalation. Not strategy, normalization. Second, just in the last 24 hours, Iran's president publicly declared that Iran is effectively at war with the United States, Europe, and Israel. That language matters. Not conflict, not tension, war. And at the same time, European leaders are warning that the region is edging towards a full-fledged war scenario, particularly as Israel continues its military actions and diplomatic pressure fractures alliances. This isn't rhetoric floating in a vacuum. This is what happens while the U.S. confirms strikes abroad, European governments openly break ranks, and global shipping and energy routes are under strain. And just 2 days ago, Spain crossed a different line few Western governments have done publicly. A senior Spanish official stated that Bibi Netanyahu is the Hitler of the 21st century, and that failing to stop him condemns the international community. That statement sparked fury. And why does that matter? Well, it matters because Europe is no longer unified in its posture towards Israel or U.S.-aligned military actions. So when European governments are fracturing publicly, it weakens NATO cohesion, diplomatic containment, and the illusion of this shared Western strategy. So this is what cracks look like before we see realignment, something entirely different. And of course, that's not all. Now in Asia, reports show China surrounding Taiwan with ships and 89 military aircraft, dramatically escalating invasion fears. This is not a drill. This is not symbolic. This is pressure positioning. When China moves like this while the U.S. is stretched across Latin America, the Middle East, and Europe, that's not a coincidence. It's an opportunity. And we have some pretty distressing news coming domestically as well. In Texas, there was approximately 1 million gallons of sulfuric acid spilled into a ship channel following a chemical leak in Channel View. This isn't just an environmental story. While it has environmental impacts, it affects water systems, shipping routes again, local health, emergency response capacity. And it happened quietly while global headlines dominated the attention that we all saw. Infrastructure failures don't wait for wars to end. They pile on. In addition to that, we just had another gas explosion off of the I-5 causing it to close in California. And at the same time, because that's not enough, reports and viral documentation showed plans to dramatically increase denaturalization cases, with quotas reportedly being discussed for 2026. Whether you are naturalized, born here, or mixed status in your family, this matters because citizenship is only as strong as the documentation you can prove. Which brings us to an update most people missed. There is a quiet but critical change coming. Under the new United States Postal Service rules effective late 2025, the postmark date of your mailings will now reflect when mail is first processed at a regional automated facility and not when you drop it in the mailbox. This is a big change. It means legal filings, which used to follow the mailbox rule, which said that when you dropped something in the mail, that is when it was considered sent, no longer exist. So legal filings, IRS documents, immigration paperwork, court deadlines, voting. If your ballot is dropped in the mail, but it's not processed by the regional facility for 3 or 4 days later and you send it in on voting day, guess what? You didn't properly send it in time because it's no longer when it goes into the mail. It's when it's processed. So now this new rule from the USPS is going to impact everybody because timing matters. You must request a hand-stamped postmark at the counter at this point to ensure that it's properly marked. This is not conspiracy, it's administrative power. And administrative power decides lives. So here's what you can do, right? Because the through line is like this: military escalation abroad, environmental instability at home, bureaucratic tightening, documentation scrutiny, and fractured global alliances. First things first, get your documents in order. Originals, copies, digital backups, make sure they're apostilled. Understand your deadlines, especially mail-in based ones for court documents, for voting, right? Pay attention to patterns, not just the headlines. You have to read them all together because that's the only way you start to see a clearer picture. But most importantly, you need to build resilience, food, water, planning, community. You have to set yourself up. I say it all the time. You are your best first responder. And if you want the full written analysis with sources and links, join us over on Substack because staying informed is no longer optional. It is survival literacy. And with TikTok having been sold in the United States, I don't know how much longer you guys are going to continue to see my videos. So make sure that you join us over on Substack. And as always, stay safe.